12 years. That's how long I gave them. 12 years of late nights, missed birthdays, cancelled vacations. I built my life around that company, Blueprint Analytics. Back when it was just a name on a whiteboard in a rented office above a vape shop, I was there, building the foundation, one line of code, one contract, one broken coffee machine at a time. My badge number was literally WR04. So when the Zoom invite came through titled Transition Planning, my gut twisted. I knew. And when I saw the face on the other end, Kristen Alvarez, the new CEO brought in by Apex Holdings after they acquired us, I didn't even need her to say the words. But she did anyway, all buttoned up in her Manhattan office with that rehearsed HR tone. Your role is no longer aligned with the new strategic direction. 7 minutes. That's how long it took her to erase 12 years of loyalty. No thank you. No acknowledgement. Just a polished sentence and a legal packet in my inbox. I didn't argue. Didn't raise my voice. I asked a few transition questions, noted the severance figures, and logged off. That's the thing about being loyal for too long. You learn how to be quiet while they steal from you. But here's what Kristen didn't know. I'd been preparing for this the day Apex Holdings started sniffing around. 6 months earlier, I'd noticed a shift. Projects suddenly frozen. My budget requests met with "we'll revisit next quarter." Then they brought in external consultants, Apex people wearing friendly smiles and holding clipboards like wolves in branded sweaters. I'd seen acquisitions before. I knew what came next. Consolidations, redundancies, strategic synergies. That corporate snake oil they smear over mass layoffs to keep stockholders calm. So while I smiled through meetings and delivered KPIs on time, I started building something in the background. I called it Project Echo. It started as a backup plan, a new kind of data architecture that simplified predictive modeling for mid-sized logistics companies. But slowly, it became more than a plan. It became mine. Not Blueprint's, not Apex's. Mine. 2 hours after the Zoom call, I sat on my apartment floor, contract printouts scattered around me, highlighter in one hand, whiskey in the other. That's when I saw it. A non-compete clause so bloated and vague it looked like it had been written by someone who learned law from Twitter. I could work around it. Hell, I could build around it. My phone buzzed. It was Felix, one of the few senior engineers still hanging on at Blueprint. They just gutted the entire R&D department. You were right. This new leadership has no idea what they're doing. Are you still thinking about Echo? I didn't respond right away, just stared at the message. Because now, it wasn't just about building something better. It was about showing them what they threw away, and maybe, just maybe, making them regret it. By the next morning, I'd already booked a small, temporary office space in the industrial part of town. Nothing fancy. Just 4 walls, decent Wi-Fi, and a lock I controlled. That mattered more than anything. I was done giving keys to people who'd toss me out the moment a spreadsheet told them to. The room smelled like fresh paint and regret. But it was mine. I texted Felix back, "Let's talk tonight, bring Amir too." Amir was a back-end wizard I'd mentored for years, quiet guy, brilliant under pressure. The kind of person Apex would never understand how to manage. They saw his silence as weakness. I knew it was calculation. That night, the 3 of us sat around a folding table with a single lamp above us and a whiteboard I'd picked up from a Craigslist ad. I walked them through the bones of Echo, the concept, the architecture, the gaps in the market. Logistics firms drowning in bloated analytics tools that couldn't pivot fast enough when supply chains choked. I knew their pain points because I'd spent years trying to band-aid over them with off-the-shelf garbage. Felix leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "You're saying we build a leaner, smarter data engine, plug and play, real-time modeling, no corporate bloat." "Exactly," I said. "No drag, no BS, just speed and clarity." Amir nodded. "It's doable. We'd need DevOps help. Maybe UI, but the back end, it's clean, really clean." That one word, doable, was all I needed to hear. By midnight, we had a roadmap sketched out, code names, security protocols, a shared folder system that couldn't be traced to our names. I wasn't going to give Apex the satisfaction of accusing me of IP theft. I'd seen what they'd done to other founders, lawsuits, blacklisting, quiet backroom deals to freeze them out of funding. Not this time, but even as we made progress, The betrayal still ate at me. 12 years of innovation, loyalty, mentoring scrapped like old furniture. And Kristen? She was already posting on LinkedIn about refining operations for growth, code for layoffs. She probably didn't even know what my department had contributed, just another name on her spreadsheet. 2 days later, Felix sent me something that made my jaw clench, an internal memo leaked from a friend still inside Blueprint. Legacy data models from prior analytics team deemed obsolete. Transitioning fully to Apex architecture Q3, no additional feedback from former leadership required. Former leadership, that was me. They were erasing us, quietly, efficiently, like we'd never been there. I forwarded the memo to Felix and Amir along with one line, "They think we're obsolete. Time to make some noise." We didn't talk about revenge outright. That wasn't our language. Ours was cleaner. Code, deadlines, strategy. But beneath the professionalism, we were all thinking the same thing. Let's bury them with brilliance. 2 weeks in, we had a prototype. Nothing pretty. No user interface. No branding. No pitch decks. Just the raw engine. But it worked. It was fast, nimble, and accurate in ways Blueprint's old systems never were. We'd built it from scratch. Clean slate. No trace of company code. All logic. All performance. All ours. We tested it using synthetic data modeled on the kinds of scenarios we'd seen Blueprint's clients struggle with. Supply fluctuations, warehouse bottlenecks, rerouting under weather constraints. The results? Echo processed analytics in real time, adjusting forecasts midstream without needing to rebuild the entire data chain. That alone could shave hours off a logistics team's response time. Amir ran the last test late one night and turned to me, eyebrows raised. "This thing doesn't just work, it sings." I smiled for the first time in days. But outside that tiny office, Apex was already on the move. They weren't just gutting Blueprint, they were publicly announcing partnerships. With next-gen AI platforms, buzzwords stacked like poker chips. I recognized the game. Flashy PR to cover the rot underneath. Then I got a message from Camille Russo, VP of Ops at Dynahall, one of Blueprint's biggest clients. We'd spent 2 years helping her team untangle their ancient logistics architecture and modernize their whole analytics workflow. "Can you talk? Something's off with the new Apex team. Feels like they're winging it." That's how it started. I kept it casual on the call. Just asked questions, listened. Turns out Apex had replaced our custom dashboards with a unified metrics portal that didn't account for Dynahall's regional variables. Forecasts were skewed, delays mispredicted. Camille's team was scrambling. She didn't know I'd been fired. Apex hadn't said a word. Just slotted Kristen's hand-picked people into our place like nothing happened. I finally told her the truth. Not bitterly, just facts. There was a pause on the line, then she said, "If you're working on something, keep me in the loop." That's when I realized something. The clients weren't loyal to Blueprint. They were loyal to us, to the people who listened, built around their needs, stayed up past midnight solving their crises. A week later, 2 more former clients reached out. Apex's new system can't track variable fuel costs. The new dashboard missed a container. Reroute cost us 6 figures. Every call, every complaint, they weren't angry at me. They were asking for help, and I was ready to give it to them. We started rebuilding Echo with real client pain points in mind. Felix added a rapid adjust forecasting layer. Amir coded a smart alert system that flagged high-risk nodes in a delivery chain. We weren't guessing anymore. We were designing from inside the fire. I knew it was only a matter of time before Apex caught wind of what we were doing. So I filed paperwork under a new entity name, Rift Signal Technologies. Clean, quiet, under the radar. But in the back of my mind, I wasn't just thinking about code or clients anymore. I was thinking about Kristen, the 7-minute call. The way she hadn't even looked up at the camera while cutting me loose. She thought she'd eliminated a name from a payroll spreadsheet. What she really did, Anne, was light the fuse. We were 5 people now. Felix pulled in Nadine, a former UX designer from our old team, who'd been laid off a week after me. She didn't even get a meeting, just a restructuring notice in her inbox with an HR-signed PDF and a list of FAQ links. She brought fire with her. Said she'd been waiting for a call like this since the day they pushed her out. Our fifth was Marcus, a cloud security expert, the guy who once built our entire disaster recovery system in 48 hours during a client breach. Apex hadn't even let him finish his notice period. Just revoked his access mid-sprint and locked him out. "They made me vanish," he said when he walked into the office. "Now let's make some noise." Within a month, we had a functional beta of Echo 2.0 running in a sandbox. Faster, lighter, cleaner. We built it lean, no fluff, just exactly what logistics and operations managers told us they needed. No dashboards stacked with vanity graphs, no long waits between insights. You asked a question. Echo gave you an answer in seconds. Clients started slipping us anonymized data on the side. Things Apex had missed, KPIs that had tanked, new solutions that cost them more than they saved. They couldn't openly walk away from Apex yet. Contractual. Ties, procurement policies, politics. But they were frustrated and they were watching. And Apex, they were busy patting themselves on the back. Press releases. Awards for enterprise modernization. Kristen even did a podcast talking about agile realignment in post-acquisition culture. I listened to it twice. Not out of spite, out of sheer disbelief. She was selling a story written by people she'd fired. Midway through the second listen, I shut my laptop, leaned back in my chair, and said out loud, "They're building on a foundation they don't understand." And that's when it hit me. Apex didn't just replace us. They were using our systems poorly, Frankensteining our code into their legacy architecture, slapping shiny labels on it, and praying the clients wouldn't notice the cracks, which meant they were vulnerable. Not legally. We weren't going to chase them in court. That was their game. We'd let the product do the talking. So we launched quietly. No ads, no press, no launch parties. Just a few phone calls to the right people. And Echo moved fast. We didn't try to steal Apex's whole client base. We didn't need to. We just targeted the ones hurting the most. The ones Apex had abandoned with bad support, forced integrations, or blanket solutions that didn't fit their business model. Every week, a new name showed up in our inbox. Sometimes, with a subject line that just said, "Are you the same team from Blueprint?" I started sleeping less, not from stress, but from energy. Drive. I felt like I did 12 years ago when Blueprint was just an idea, before it got buried under middle management, market share goals, and quarterly fluff. Then came the first big. Signal Dynahall terminated their data services extension with Apex. Just cancelled it. No public statement. No press, but it was a shot across the bow. 2 days later, Camille emailed, "Can you onboard us next quarter?" Quietly. We could, and we would, because Apex hadn't just fired a team, they'd fired their soul. We onboarded Dynahall in silence. No press release, no public announcement, just a midnight file transfer and a digital handshake. Camille sent us encrypted access to their live environment through a private channel. "We'll run you in parallel for now," she said. "Apex can't." "No, we're testing you." It wasn't fear, it was strategy. Contracts with Apex had teeth. Early termination clauses, audit rights, the kind of language written by lawyers who expected clients to try and escape. We didn't rush it. We just made Echo perform. Within 10 days, we flagged an efficiency loss in their northeast corridor routing, something Apex's dashboard had overlooked because of how it rounded aggregate data. Camille's team shaved 4% off their regional fuel costs in a single week. That's when it began. The whispers. One logistics director, then another, a CTO, an ops manager. All of them in pain, all of them asking the same thing. "Can you do what you did for Dynahall?" "For us, sir?" We kept our footprint small, lean. 5 people in a shared office with second-hand desks and borrowed chairs. But the results? They were loud. Loud enough that they started bouncing off Apex's glass walls. 2 weeks later, Kristen announced an internal audit of post-acquisition performance. I read the memo twice. They knew something was slipping. They just didn't know where the leak was. Not yet. Then Apex made a mistake. They offered Blueprint's old clients a migration tool that would replace all our custom-built logic with their standard Apex Suite templates. It backfired instantly. The tool stripped away years of tailored data logic. Forecasts failed. Cost centers misfired. Systems went dark in the middle of routing windows. One client lost $180,000 in under 24 hours. My phone started buzzing like a fire alarm, Camille called, in a panic. They're unraveling the whole system. It's like they're trying to break us. I had to bite back the urge to say I told you so. Instead, I pulled up Echo, analyzed her live data stream, and pushed a patch that rerouted the affected logic. Paths in real time. Within an hour, her system stabilized. At 2:14 a.m., I got the message. We're terminating Apex. You've got the account. Officially. That was the moment it felt real. No longer the underdog. No longer the fired guy with a grudge. Now I was competition. Quiet, precise, lethal. 2 more clients followed within the month. Apex responded the only way a bloated giant knows how. Lawyers. We got a letter. Accusations of intellectual property misuse, contract interference, targeted sabotage. The works. Our attorney, Nina Travers, a former tech litigator with a spine made of steel, read the letter, chuckled, and said, "This is desperation. There's no meat here, just noise." Still, it was a warning shot, not a legal threat, and emotional one. Kristen wanted me rattled, wanted me second-guessing, looking over my shoulder. It almost worked, but then Felix said something that stuck. She fired you because she thought you were replaceable. That was her first mistake. He leaned forward and grinned. Let's make sure it's her last. 3 days after the legal letter, Kristen went on a podcast again. This time she wasn't talking about synergy or alignment or whatever boardroom buzzword they were throwing around. No, this time she was on the defensive. Change is hard, she said. Transitions are bumpy, but we're proud of the innovation we're driving. And frankly, we won't be distracted by noise from people who are no longer part of this journey. She didn't name me, but she didn't have to. Everyone in the industry knew who she was talking about. I replayed that sentence a few times. Noise from people who are no longer part of this journey. Kristen thought we were noise, but noise doesn't make companies panic. Doesn't pull clients out from under a $40 million system. Doesn't push execs to call for emergency audits. We weren't noise. We were the thing she tried to bury, now clawing our way to the surface, and she was scared. Good. Still, we couldn't get cocky. Our cash flow was tight. Contracts were trickling in, but legal defense wasn't cheap. Every new client meant Apex came harder, faster. Threats, nastygrams, calls to our vendors. One of our cloud partners even got leaned on. Are you sure you want to host a competitor that's violating IP? They backed off, but the message was clear. Apex wasn't trying to win. They were trying to smother. That night, I didn't sleep. I walked circles around the office, thinking, pacing, asking myself over and over, is this worth it? Then I opened an old backup drive. It had photos, blueprints early days, me younger, skinnier, exhausted, Felix asleep on a beanbag, Nadine whiteboarding a feature with markers that kept drying out, Amir holding up a coffee cup like a trophy, after a successful deployment. And I remembered something. We didn't build Blueprint for quarterly metrics. We built it because we gave a damn, and they threw that away. Now? We were building again, only this time it was on our terms. The next morning I called a meeting. Felix, Nadine, Marcus, Amir, all of them bleary-eyed, mid-coffee. I know we're under fire, I said, and I know they're trying to make us fold before we get real traction. But I'm done reacting, let's go on offense. Amir raised an eyebrow. How? We know their architecture, better than they do. We designed the guts of it. And now that they've torn our work apart, it's failing, slowly, loudly. I dropped a flash drive on the table. This is a report compiled from public forums, support complaints, back-end logs, everything we could scrape legally. Nadine scanned it. This is brutal. They've got data latency spikes, error propagation, failed redundancy triggers, all under contracts with performance guarantees, I said. If they don't fix this, they'll start bleeding clients hard. Marcus grinned. So we let them bleed? No, I said, shaking my head. We hand the bandage to the clients quietly. We don't gloat. We don't burn. We build. But we make damn sure every company Apex is failing knows there's another option. Felix nodded. Echo. We didn't need a war. We just needed to make hope visible. And Apex? They'd do the rest of the damage themselves. Word got out, not through ads or press releases, not through flashy product launches or sponsored posts. It spread in Slack channels, quiet hallway conversations, industry dinners where one exhausted ops lead whispered to another, "We're working. With Echo now. Don't say anything, but it's the only thing keeping us afloat." That's how it grew. Not loud, but inevitable. Apex, meanwhile, was spiraling. They kept pushing patches to fix problems they didn't understand, layering temporary code over a broken structure. Their systems were bloated, fragile, incapable of adapting to the kind of chaos the logistics world was choking on. And when things broke, they blamed the past. That's what Kristen did best: deflect, redirect. Pretend the problem was the people they pushed out, not the fact that the people they kept had no idea how to hold the thing together. Then it happened. Apex lost Centriflow, a multi-regional logistics firm with a notoriously aggressive CTO and a zero-tolerance policy for service degradation. 1. Day they were Apex's flagship account. The next, they went dark. 3 weeks later, our office phone rang. The voice on the line said, "We don't want to talk to sales. We want to talk to the people who built Echo." It was Centriflow's CIO. They'd been watching us the whole time, monitoring Apex's failures, waiting for a tipping point. That tipping point had come. Kristen, of course, didn't take it well. Within 48 hours, her legal team filed a new injunction, this time not just aimed at us but at our clients. Threats of audits, penalty clauses, accusations of reverse engineering. Our inbox flooded with panic. Nadine looked at me across the table, tense. "If they keep this up, we'll start losing people. Not clients, our people. Nobody wants to be in a war zone." She was right. And that's when I made the call, literally, to David Lynn, an investigative reporter who specialized in corporate acquisitions and who I knew had been sniffing around Apex for months. We met in a diner on the edge of town. I handed him everything: scrubbed logs, internal memos we'd legally obtained, public failure patterns, client testimonials, performance reports. "Why now?" he asked me. "Because they're not just hurting us anymore," I said. "They're hurting entire supply chains, hospitals, freight lines, infrastructure. And they're doing it while claiming they're the future." He nodded. "You sure you want your name on this?" I didn't hesitate. "Yeah, let them know who they tried to bury." 2 weeks later, the story broke. Collapse by acquisition. How Apex gutted Blueprint and endangered supply networks across the US. Front page of 3 business journals. Shared across every logistics forum like wildfire, and in the middle of it, my name, not as the villain. Not even as the victim, as the one who built the alternative. Kristen went silent. Apex stock dropped 14% by close of week. Centriflow signed their contract with us that same Friday. But the real moment, the one that hit me hard, was when I walked into our office the next morning and saw something stuck to the whiteboard. A sticky note written in Nadine's quick scrawl, 7 minutes of betrayal. We answered with a product that works. 6 months later, everything was different. We weren't 5 people in a cramped room anymore. We had an entire floor in a downtown office, sunlight pouring in through full-length windows, desks filled with real employees, not just hopeful friends betting against the odds. Echo had evolved. It wasn't just a tool anymore, it was a platform, powering real-time decision-making across more than a dozen logistics networks. Our clients called it their second brain. Some even joked it was smarter than half their executive teams. They weren't wrong. What we built didn't just outperform Apex, it exposed them for what they were: corporate vultures picking at the bones of real innovation and dressing up decay in executive lingo. Kristen resigned 2 months after the article dropped. Not publicly, of course. The press release said she was transitioning to pursue new strategic opportunities. I didn't care where she went. She was already irrelevant. Blueprint's parent company was restructuring again. Their analytics division had been gutted twice. Apex had burned through more bridges than they could rebuild. Clients were leaving in waves. Investors were asking hard questions they didn't have answers to. Meanwhile, our contracts kept stacking. We'd built slow, quiet, intentional. No investors, no hype, just results. And the team, stronger than ever. Nadine led product now. Felix headed engineering. Amir managed architecture. Marcus ran ops like a submarine captain. No leaks, no surprises. And me? I finally had breathing room. Time to think, to mentor, to build. Not for someone else's spreadsheet, but for our mission. Then, one day I got an email. From Kristen. Subject, no hard feelings. It was short, polite, drenched in corporate grace. Saw the news about Echo. Impressive work, genuinely. Hope you're well. No apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd done. Just a tap on the shoulder. From someone watching from the sidelines now, I didn't reply. Because here's the thing, she gave me the greatest gift possible, freedom. Not by offering it, by trying to take everything away. She showed me what I'd become by staying loyal to the wrong people too long. She made me realize that sometimes getting fired isn't a failure. It's a correction, a redirection back to purpose. That night we held a small party at the office. Nothing fancy, just pizza, beer and a whiteboard, sketching out what Echo 3.0 might look like. I stood near the window as the sun dipped behind the mountains, watching the reflection of my team in the glass, laughing, debating, dreaming, 12 years of loyalty, 7 minutes of betrayal, and now, a future built not on revenge, but on relevance. They tried to erase me, but all they did was give me the pen, the end.